If you can't explain your design under pressure, you don't understand it yet. Most designers are not wrong, they're just operating on the first answer that sounds good enough. Welcome to Design Unhinged. I'm Pat, and this is a thinking rule I use constantly. It was taught to me in university, and I have refined it painfully in practice. I call it the 3-question depth rule. So what is this rule? It's very simple. If someone can keep asking you follow-up questions and your explanation holds, you understand the problem. Design culture quietly rewards confidence, clear explanations, clean diagrams, decisive statements. The problem is that confidence is cheap. You can sound certain a long way before you're actually correct. Some designers treat the first answer as progress. If the explanation sounds coherent, the work moves on. But the first answer only tells you what someone thinks is happening. It tells you nothing about whether that understanding can survive reality. A good way to see this is to look at what happens when depth is missing. In 2013, Google released Google Glass, a wearable display that put a camera and screen directly on your face. It was ambitious, futuristic, and technically impressive. Basically, the forerunner to the current Meta glasses. When Google Glass failed, it wasn't because of the technology. It was because the idea could not survive even basic contextual questioning. Who was it actually for? Was it everyday users, developers, medical professionals, or early adopters? No one could answer consistently. How was it supposed to fit into daily life without social friction? Wearing a face-mounted camera turned every interaction into a negotiation about privacy and intent. What unintended consequences did it introduce the moment it hit real world? Surveillance fears, social discomfort, a cultural recoil that no spec sheet could fix. Each question exposed a gap, not in engineering, but in understanding the world the product was entering. That is what surface understanding looks like in practice. The design works in isolation. It collapses in context. The 3-question depth rule works because it mimics how other disciplines test truth. A lawyer doesn't stop after one explanation. They ask what happens when conditions change. They ask why the explanation still holds under pressure. Psychologists do the same. So do scientists, as well as engineers. The first answer is rehearsed. The second answer is uncomfortable. The third answer is where reality shows up. That's why this rule matters in design as well. If someone asks, why does this work? You answer clearly. Good. If then they ask, what happens when the user does the opposite? If your explanation wobbles here, you should be doing more research. By the third question, you either show clear understanding of the context, or you discover you were leaning on assumptions. That discovery is not failure. It is a beginning of real understanding. Being able to show your understanding of a context to the depth of 3 questions is not about winning arguments. It's about doing more rigorous work and building designs that actually hold up under reality. Depth of understanding does not make design slower. It makes it sturdier, more impact resistant. When you interrogate an idea properly, you start seeing things early, where assumptions are hiding, where constraints will bite your ass, where users will hesitate, and where the system will break under pressure. That's what the 3-question depth rule gives you. Not just certainty, resilience. It helps you predict friction before it becomes a support ticket, explain trade-offs before they become political fights, and change direction before the cost becomes too real. This is why experienced designers don't necessarily have better ideas. They just have fewer untested ones. Depth isn't about being clever. It's about being honest about what you don't know yet and refusing to move forward until you do. The 3-question depth is not a framework. It is a habit. It's a discipline of not trusting the first explanation, especially your own ones. If you can answer 3 consecutive questions about your design clearly, consistently, and without hand-waving, you understand your problem space. And if you can't yet, that's not weakness, that's where the real work starts. If this episode helped you think differently about your design reasoning, give me a subscribe and tell me what idea we should pressure test next. Because here on Design Unhinged, we don't just make things look right, we make sure our thinking holds up.